to make my dream come true. Not holding back, I'm on the track to my breakthrough. Dedication, staying true to what I love. Determination is finally paying off. Here's to the haters and fakers. You never stop me. I'm better, I'm stronger, and everyone can see I'm moving up. Hey, all the way up. I'm moving up. All the way up. All the way up.
Welcome to Trials, Triumphs, and Truth with Dr. Monica. Please share this podcast, please. If you're listening to, you heard the theme song, I'm Moving Up by Carrie Taylor. It says to the haters, fakers, you'll never stop me. I'm better, I'm stronger, I'm moving up. Dedicated and staying true. So hopefully you will embrace those words and move up, stay dedicated. I am Dr. Monica, the author of Wounds of Wisdom, the book written to help you through life's wounds by transparently sharing my experiences. And this book is about each one, reach one, heal one, and learning wisdom from others to avoid repeating some of the same mistakes that some of us made. So last week, I was talking about chapter 4, which is church wounds. And I wasn't really ready to launch into that chapter, but I was being obedient because I wanted to stay in some of the more safer chapters. However, I had to ask myself, why stay in safe chapters when these times that we're dealing with right now are not safe? Just a question I had to ask myself. Also, I woke up a little discouraged this morning, just the lack of progress with this project. People not coming through like they're supposed to, or they say. And until I heard a message by Pastor YPJ that popped up on my timeline today. Now, it was dated July 13th, but this was such a timely message for me personally. It says progress is the enemy. And it says you have motivation to start, but you need inspiration to finish. So stay for the manifestation of the results. And that was directly to me, because results become addictive. And so what he said also was the enemy is trying to discourage you before you see your results, because the results are coming. So continue to develop and working, because it's going to pay off. And, I hope that anybody who may be feeling like their work is in vain or they're not seeing the progress, that they embrace that too. And then I heard a message by Lady Rhonda Colton, and she said, don't quit, in her motivational message this morning. So I received both of those as encouragement. And as I stated in previous podcasts, and even last week, people are hurting. They're looking for hope, living in fear, desperately turning to sources that are supposed to help them and designed to help them, but in actuality, causing confusion, manipulating, and deceiving. So may today's short talk, just provide you with some courage today. And if you are wounded, in a wounded state, keep going, because the results are coming. We may not know the timeline, but it's coming. And I'm talking to myself and encouraging myself when I say that today. So if you tuned in last week, you know that I was speaking to a young lady, and she was struggling, or maybe a non-believer or atheist. I'm not sure what to call her, but she made 3 statements. And I want to address those 3 statements today or this evening. And I may not get through all of this. I aim to keep this podcast only 10 to 15 minutes max. And so the statement that this young lady made last week was, I won't go to church because the people are fake. They're mean. They're living hellish lives. And there's more people outside of the church that's living better, treating people better than in the church. And she said that she just didn't believe in prayer anymore. And she did not believe in keep asking for the same things. And I addressed those things last week. So go back and listen to last week's podcast. And then also I came back on and addressed the issue of prayer. When you stop believing in prayer. So go back. I won't regurgitate those thoughts or those comments that I made on that. But I want to ask this question that I asked last week. Are we practicing what we preach? Are we only preaching what we expect others to practice? Just think about that for a moment. I also shared, some statements that are misused and abused. They're true statements, but they're misused and abused. People, you're going through things or something has happened or you had a certain experience. And people say, oh, just have faith. Trust God. Oh, you don't trust God. God's in control. Just pray about it. These are true statements. However, sometimes we need a little bit more. And when people don't know what else to say or do, those are statements that they say. And sometimes they're cop-outs. And we know that we can do some things. Faith without works is dead. We need action sometimes, especially in these times. People need to see the evidence. So, we're seeing a lot of people fleeing from church right now. People are preferring online churches because of the wounds. But, there's justification for this. No church is perfect. Not all churches are like that. And don't forsake the assembly. Those are true statements. However, what other environment expects for you to come back into those environments and turn a blind eye as if things aren't occurring, or you're supposed to accept that? So I want to read from page 102 of my book. It is Words of Wisdom number 32. If you've been wounded if you've wounded someone, help them heal and heal yourself. Flee when necessary. You have to preserve your peace of mind and your integrity. So sometimes, we expect, particularly in the church, for you to, there's a fine line between loyalty and blindly following and cultish behavior. And sometimes that's mixed up. We see this and, people want to just continue doing business as usual. So the first point I want to make is people and institutions can only get away with what they're allowed to get away with. Again, allowed. And the allowed is often not addressed. It's ignored. It's covered up. And then people feel like they can't even have a conversation. So in this book, I speak about that I struggle with the church. Past, present, and hopefully not the future. And I speak about that in great detail. And sadly, my experiences are the experience of so many others. And these are not isolated incidents. I've been in church 56 years, and I've seen some things, just like some other people have. But nobody wants to rock the boat. Remember I spoke last week about rocking the boat. Remember that song, Don't Rock the Boat, Baby, Don't Tip the Boat Over? And sometimes we need to tip that boat because that's the only way some things are going to change. We have to get to the root cause of problems. And a lot of times we just want to brush over it, sugarcoat it, cover it up. And if we don't get to the root cause of the problem, it will not be solved. We want quick fixes. Speaking of quick fixes, even this vaccine, we want quick fixes instead of getting to the root cause of this virus and eradicating the virus. Not just the quick fix so we can get back to life as normal, whatever normal was. So, those are some things I wanted to share. I'm going to read a couple more other things from page 100 of the book. And as soon as I can find the page, I just want to share this. I talk about tithing in the book, and I speak that I'm struggling with tithing. I struggled with tithing in the church. And I'm going to read the reason why. I feel like I'm giving to a flawed entity that has wounded my spirit and so many others. I'm not trying to put all churches in the same category. Not one has given me a reason not to lump them all in the same category. I understand that it's not fair and it's equivalent to stereotyping a group of people. This is my reality, and I know I am not alone. How do we change the narrative? Can we? Again, how do we change that narrative? Can we change that narrative? What should we really be doing? What should we be doing as individuals? And what should we be doing as collectively? Are we walking the walk? Are we talking the talk? Are we just talking words? Are we just making statements? And on page 102, I want to read a words of wisdom, number 23. Don't expect God to get you out of self-imposed troubles you got yourself in. It may be your responsibility to get yourself out. God has given us all the ability to escape. It's a choice. We want to place God as the problem when he has equipped us with a lot of knowledge and experience, but we're not using it. So point number 2 I want to make. Actually, I want to address the second statement that this young lady stated, in our conversation. She says, I don't believe the Bible or God or in God, or she says, I can't with Christians. Now, speaking to me, and I'm a Christian. She said, bad things happen and God's not doing anything about it. He's allowing it to happen. This is my response to her. It's not God, it's us. We have free will. We make choices, and we have free will. And there are consequences to every single choice that we make, and they impact others. He has given us control over our actions, our words, and our choices. And just like Adam and Eve had eaten from that forbidden fruit, it wasn't a fruit, forbidden tree, they had the choice. And so now sin has entered, and he's not taking away our choices. And, a lot of times you say, well, why can't we just pray it away? Again, everything we name cannot be claimed or manifested, even if we believe it. However, that's not often taught. That's not taught. We have this name it and claim it, pray it away. This is going to manifest it. But who's dealing with when the prayer isn't answered? Nobody's addressing that. We want to talk positive and speak positive. And I'm not trying to be negative. We need to be real, especially now. And especially in this generation now. They can see through all of this. And if we don't understand something, we need to say we don't understand. But we don't have to feel like we have every single answer. Are we confessing, we wounding people with our confessions that we make? Even if it's unintentional and you mean well by that. I speak each week about intentions. Wounds and being wounded, don't understand intentions or unintentional. If they do, we need to, we don't know. So as I stated in previous podcasts, what are intentions? What good are intentions? And what do intentions accomplish? It's a character issue. Again, nobody wants to rock the boat. Nobody wants to rock the boat. But this church wounds chapter that I'm talking about, it rocks the boat. It tips the boat over. And it's time, because things need to change and we must change. If we expect this world to be any better, it's going to be an individual and a collective effort. So point number 2, I believe, because this is my response to her. I believe in God because of my personal encounters with him, my provider, my healer, in the peace in the midst of the storm. And as I mentioned in the book in prior weeks, 2020 was my best year. Why? Because it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes and exposed a lot of things. It exposed many people. And like I said, we need to be real and true. The final statement that she makes was, I don't understand the Bible. Well, I'm going to close on this point. I've been in church all my life, and I don't understand the entire Bible either. But you know what? I often hear we're ridiculed when you're in church, when you don't understand. You've been in church all your life and you don't know. That's judgmental. It's a put down from the pew to the pulpit. It's very condescending and it's wounding. Everyone is not at the same level spiritually. and may not get there. You know, I also graduated because of this, I graduated from the School of Ministry 2 years. I still didn't get what I needed. I still don't understand some things. I may not be able to recite certain scripture or be able to pull certain scripture up. And I say that because Dr. Monica, in all of her degrees, her School of Ministry, she still doesn't know. She still doesn't understand everything that she should. And I hope that statement alone sets somebody free because of the judgment and the shame that is placed on you by not knowing. There's a table of contents. And I believe, God gives me what I need to have when I need to have it. And I stand on that. And I'm unashamed of that. And I pray that nobody else feels unashamed. When you read the book, you even read about a pastor that ridiculed me. You couldn't find this in a particular Bible. No, I couldn't. But guess what? I'm not a Bible scholar. And my response to him was, I would prefer to live it than to be able to recite it and not live it. Which are you doing? So I just want to, we're coming up to, I'm over my 15 minutes. But the reality for me, and far too many, is people in the church hurt people in the church. There's a lot of deceit. There's a lot of faking going on. And far too many people are being preyed on, their vulnerability, their naivety. And nobody wants to talk about it or do anything about it. Many of us simply carry our wounds. We leave one church and take those wounds to another church. But who's addressing those wounds? Who wants to address those wounds? I haven't seen them addressed yet. So a couple of questions before I close. Can we change this narrative? Where and how do we start? Individually and collectively. If anybody on here or anybody hears this podcast, please address and respond to those questions. And I mean in reality, what do we do? Post your response. Church wounds cut deep. I mean, they are life-altering. They're devastating. They're damaging in so many lives. And we can't continue to do business as usual because usual isn't and hasn't worked. Okay? So let's live the Bible. Let's show the world what we are, who we really are, or do we know? So this concludes this session of Trials, Triumphs, and Truths with Dr. Monica. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this encouraging or enlightening, please share it. Please make comments. And I'm going to end with my theme song, I'm Moving Up by Carrie Taylor. And if you saw the post, she's has an opportunity to to be the opening act at Hollywood Bowl. So if you go on the Wounds of Wisdom page, you'll see that and you can actually vote for her. So, this is the theme song. And I like to close, as always, I always say, until next time, don't allow anyone to disturb your peace, and don't you disturb anyone's peace. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great evening. And move up.